Most people spend their entire lives chasing confidence without realizing they are looking in the wrong place. They try to fix their self-esteem by changing jobs, relationships, bodies, bank balances, or social status. Yet the nagging sense of not enough never truly disappears. Self-Esteem by Matthew McKay and Patrick Fanning opens with a quietly unsettling truth. Low self-esteem is not a personality flaw, a lack of talent, or a permanent condition. It is a learned pattern of thinking, feeling, and reacting, and anything learned can be unlearned. This book doesn't motivate you with hype or hollow affirmations. Instead, it gently but firmly dismantles the invisible mental machinery that keeps people trapped in self-doubt, self-criticism, and emotional pain, replacing it with practical tools that work from the inside out. The authors begin by redefining what self-esteem actually is, stripping away the popular myths that confuse it with arrogance, success, or approval. Self-esteem, they explain, is your internal sense of worth and competence, independent of external validation. It is how you evaluate yourself when no one else is watching. People with healthy self-esteem don't believe they are superior, they simply believe they are sufficient. Those with low self-esteem, on the other hand, live under the constant pressure of an inner judge that never rests. This judge measures, compares, criticizes, and condemns, often using standards that are impossible to meet. The pain of low self-esteem doesn't come from failure itself, but from the harsh meaning attached to it. From there, the book moves into the roots of low self-esteem, tracing it back to early experiences that shape how we see ourselves. Childhood criticism, neglect, inconsistent parenting, emotional invalidation, bullying, trauma, or even subtle messages like conditional love all contribute to a fragile sense of self. The authors are careful not to blame parents or caregivers outright. Instead, they emphasize how children naturally personalize experiences. When something goes wrong, a child's mind often concludes, "It must be because there's something wrong with me." Over time, these conclusions harden into core beliefs that quietly run adult life from behind the scenes. One of the most powerful ideas in the book is the concept of self-defeating beliefs. These are deeply ingrained assumptions about who you are, such as "I'm unlovable," "I'm weak," "I'm stupid," or "I'll always fail." The authors explain that these beliefs operate like tinted glasses, coloring every experience you have. Success is dismissed as luck. Failure is taken as proof, and neutral events are interpreted negatively. What makes these beliefs so destructive is that they feel like facts rather than opinions. The book patiently shows how to identify these beliefs, trace their origins, and challenge their accuracy. As the discussion unfolds, the authors introduce the idea of negative self-talk, the constant inner dialogue that reinforces low self-esteem. This voice is often cruel, absolute, and unforgiving. It exaggerates flaws, ignores strengths, and predicts disaster with complete confidence. What's striking is how familiar this voice feels to most readers. McKay and Fanning explain that negative self-talk isn't a sign of realism or humility. It's a habit of distorted thinking. They break down common cognitive distortions such as all or nothing thinking, overgeneralization, mind reading, catastrophizing, and discounting the positive. Each distortion quietly feeds self-doubt while masquerading as truth. Rather than simply telling readers to think positive The book emphasizes realistic, balanced thinking. The goal isn't to replace negative thoughts with blind optimism, but to question their validity. The authors offer practical techniques for disputing self-criticism, such as examining evidence, generating alternative explanations, and separating feelings from facts. Over time, this process weakens the authority of the inner critic and strengthens a more compassionate, rational inner voice. Another crucial theme is the role of emotions in self-esteem. Low self-esteem isn't just about thoughts, it's deeply emotional. Shame, guilt, fear, anger, and sadness often accompany negative self-beliefs. The book explores how many people suppress or avoid these emotions, believing they are dangerous or unacceptable. Ironically, this avoidance only intensifies emotional pain. The authors introduce techniques for emotional awareness and acceptance, teaching readers to experience feelings without being overwhelmed or defined by them. Emotional literacy, they argue, is a cornerstone of healthy self-esteem. As the narrative progresses, the focus shifts to behavior. Low self-esteem often leads to self-defeating actions, such as procrastination, people-pleasing, avoidance, perfectionism, and self-sabotage. These behaviors temporarily protect against discomfort, but reinforce negative beliefs in the long run. For example, avoiding challenges prevents failure, but also prevents growth, quietly confirming the belief of incompetence. The authors emphasize behavioral experiments, small, deliberate actions that test negative assumptions in real life. Each action becomes evidence that challenges old narratives and builds genuine confidence. Relationships receive special attention, as self-esteem profoundly affects how people connect with others. Those with low self-esteem often tolerate poor treatment, fear rejection, struggle with assertiveness, or seek validation at the expense of authenticity. The book explains how approval-seeking traps people in unhealthy dynamics, where self-worth depends on pleasing others. Learning to assert needs, set boundaries, and tolerate disapproval is presented not as selfishness, but as self-respect. Healthy self-esteem allows relationships to be a source of connection rather than a battlefield for validation. One of the most refreshing aspects of the book is its emphasis on self-acceptance over self-improvement. While growth is important, the authors argue that trying to fix yourself as a prerequisite for worthiness keeps self-esteem conditional. True self-esteem emerges when you accept yourself as a flawed, evolving human being. This doesn't mean complacency. It means separating your value from your performance. Mistakes become opportunities to learn, rather than verdicts on your character. The book also explores how societal and cultural pressures shape self-esteem. Unrealistic standards of beauty, success, productivity, and happiness create constant comparison and inadequacy. The authors encourage readers to question these standards and define personal values instead. Living according to your values, rather than external expectations, provides a stable foundation for self-worth, one that doesn't collapse with every setback. As the chapters move forward, practical exercises are woven seamlessly into the narrative. Readers are guided to track negative thoughts, identify core beliefs, practice self-compassion, express emotions constructively, and take small risks that build competence. These exercises aren't presented as quick fixes, but as ongoing practices. Self-esteem, the authors emphasize, is not a destination but a process, a relationship you develop with yourself over time. A particularly impactful section addresses the fear of change. Many people unconsciously cling to low self-esteem because it feels familiar, predictable, and oddly safe. Letting go of old beliefs can trigger anxiety, grief, and even guilt. The book normalizes these reactions and encourages patience. Growth doesn't mean becoming a completely different person. It means allowing yourself to expand beyond old limitations. Toward the end, McKay and Fanning integrate all the ideas into a coherent framework for lasting self-esteem. Healthy self-esteem arises from realistic thinking, emotional awareness, self-acceptance, responsible behavior, and values-based living. No single technique works in isolation. It's the combination that creates change. The authors remind readers that setbacks are inevitable and not a sign of failure. Each time you notice self-criticism and choose a different response, you weaken the old pattern and strengthen a new one. The book closes with a gentle but empowering message. You don't need to earn the right to respect yourself. Self-esteem grows when you treat yourself with the same fairness, patience, and understanding you would offer someone you care about. It is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming real. When you stop fighting yourself and start working with yourself, confidence stops being something you chase and starts being something you live. In the end, self-esteem is less about building yourself up and more about tearing down the internal walls that keep you trapped. It shows that the voice inside your head is not the truth. Your past does not define your future, and your worth is not negotiable. With clarity, compassion, and practical wisdom, the book offers something rare. Not a promise of transformation overnight, but a realistic path toward a quieter mind, a steadier heart, and a healthier relationship with yourself.